Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 13 Monday Night Football. DraftKings Showdown has a contest, and we're going to try and do everything that we can to get you as prepared for it as humanly possible. The Bengals travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Jaguars favored by 10. Total of only 40 in this one because Joe Cool is out for the year, and now we've got Jake Browning at quarterback, and I don't know. We got at least T. Higgins coming back. Browning did not look bad last week. We're going to take a look at all the viable captains. We're going to build a pick'em card over on Underdog. We did pretty well on the pick'em cards on Underdog. A couple of ones that we did on the shows last week hit. I put one out on Twitter and in our Discord, a 5-ball, and we hit all 5 of them. And then I hit another 5-burger yesterday as well. So really big Underdog weekend for me personally, and hopefully for you as well. And then we're going to look at building 150 lineups over on Fantasy Labs. If you wanted to get access to our VIP Discord, you can become a channel member here on YouTube, or you can just jump in the Discord. Go to smizzle.tv/Discord, and you can become a server subscriber right in there. Your name will turn green like immediately as soon as you subscribe. You get access to all the VIP rooms as well as my cheat sheet that comes out every single Friday. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notifications bell so you get notified as soon as I come out with new content. And let's go.
He's a legend.
Every Monday afternoon, the weekly recap video comes out on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel. You can type Al Smizzle Fantasy Football right up here in the search bar on YouTube, or you can just go to smizzle.tv/FF and it will subscribe you right away. I go over my cash game lineup, my high stakes tournament lineups, my Millionaire Maker 150, everything that happened to me over the week, and we go over the cheat sheet to see where I was right, where I was wrong, where I got lucky, where I got unlucky. You can see all the different recap videos that we come out with on that channel, as well as shorts, Rainmakers content, as well as some betting and props advice from unabatedsports.com. So looking at this slate, Monday Night Showdown, the games get kind of smaller until the playoffs start. That's just the way that Showdown goes. The crowd kind of dwindles as the fantasy season moves along. Looking at the most viable captains on this slate, let's start with the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. He has had 2 straight great games back-to-back after being he was not Trevor Lawrence. He was Meh-ver Lawrence for like most of the season, putting up sub 20-point games on DraftKings. And then the last 2 weeks, really kind of gassing it up with a 32-point performance and a 28.5-point performance. He could finish the year really, really strong, specifically against the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Jacksonville has been a pass funnel in their own right. I would have loved to have seen Joe Burrow try to pick apart this Jacksonville defense. It forces you to throw the ball and is not that efficient at stopping it, and having him go after Cincinnati, who has given up like the most explosive plays on the ground per game and in the air per game. They're just a defense that it's the holiday season. It's the giving season. So like they've been very giving all season long. So I don't see why it would stop suddenly in December. So Trevor Lawrence does have a great path to being the optimal captain. And because he has so many different guys that he could throw to, it makes it difficult to hone in on which one you should use as captain. However, if you think that Trevor Lawrence is going to have himself another 30-burger on DraftKings times the 1.5 points, that's 45 points, and he spreads it out to all those guys. If he's going to be your optimal captain, I'm not going to use ETN with him in those lineups, or at least I'm not going to build him into the group. You can use him in those lineups, clearly. But I'm going to fill out a group with basically all of his pass catchers, including Zay Jones, including McManus, because, you know, the kicker does correlate better with the quarterback than people give it credit for. Every single pass catcher who is viable, I'm going to force at least 2 of those in there, and then at least 1 skill position player from the other team. His counterpart on the other side, Jake Browning. 12.98 points last game. He had 10.7 in relief the game before, 227 yards on 19 passes on 73% completion rate against Pittsburgh, who's a different defense than is Jacksonville. Like, I think a lot of people are going to come into this game assuming that Jacksonville's defense is just going to roll over the Bengals and Jake Browning. It is a lower total, only at 40. Jaguars favored by 10 in this one. So like 25-15 is the projected Vegas score in this game. They're in, like, kind of around those numbers. So I think Browning might be able to put something up with the talent that he has on the outside. It's not going to be because of him. It's going to be because they're going to do things either to create space, get open. Luckily, he's got T. Higgins back this game from injury, so we get his return. from what I heard, he could have returned before. He was a full practice this week in all sessions. So like he could be able to just be ready to go full throttle in this game if he plays a full complement of snaps, runs a full complement of routes. It gives him, it gives Browning, it gives Jamar Chase, who got 6 targets last week, had a touchdown the week before on only 7 targets, more of an ability to tear up this Jacksonville defense. If you think that Browning's going to be the optimal captain, I personally think that like I'm going to cap him like really low. I don't think a lot of people are going to be on him at captain, but because the quarterback medians, if you're using a lineup optimizer, do tend to be higher than most of the field, it tends to stuff the quarterbacks in there at captain more than you want them to be. I'm probably going to max them at like 3 or 5%, like at most. I am going to build that same group that we built before with like literally every pass catcher that exists on that team, including the Croc Hunter, including both of the other tight ends, Sample and Smith, and Yoshi as well, to make sure that at least 2 of those guys get into that lineup with Jake Browning. Well, the hope is that Jacksonville plays from ahead. Their game scripted into having to throw the football, and Jacksonville has not been good at stopping opposing passing games. So hopefully this game does have a chance to shoot out if Browning can be efficient and his just basically be everything that we've said Brock Purdy needed to be last year. Just deliver the pizza, right? Get the ball to your great playmakers like Jamar Chase. If they can put it in his hands, and they're gonna have to, right? They're gonna have to keep pace with Jacksonville. You can't let Jacksonville win this game 30-13. You have to attack a little bit in the first half to at least put touchdowns on the board. Field goals are not going to do it. And no, you can't attack the same way with Browning at quarterback as you would with Joe Burrow, but you do have to be aggressive because your edge against every other team is the fact that you have Jamar Chase on the outside. If you think that Chase is going to be the optimal captain, put up a 30-point DraftKings day, then Browning's going to get dragged along with him, as well as T. Higgins, who I don't think anybody's going to play in captain this week, but he did have encouraging games before the injury. If you think that he's going to be the captain, pardon me, you're going to throw Browning into that lineup as well. The more viable captains, in my opinion, are going to be the players that take advantage of Cincinnati's explosive plays that they give up. One being Travis Etienne Jr., 15-3 for him at captain, getting more than enough service. 26 opportunities, 17 opportunities. Yeah, 13 against San Fran when they got absolutely throttled. He's questionable for the game, but they're all expecting him to play. They might dial him back a little bit on usage, so possibly a ceiling of 20 opportunities in this game, but based on how many explosive plays per game that Cincinnati gives up, both in the passing game and on the ground, Etienne Jr. does have a path to getting a short yardage touchdown and getting breaking a long touchdown. A 2-touchdown game would certainly put him in the running for that. You don't have to correlate through him. Also, Calvin Ridley has kind of looked a lot better since the return of Zay Jones. 3 touchdowns over the last 2 games. A much more varied route tree as opposed to the, hey, Calvin, run a 9, and then, okay, come back to the, and then run a 9 again, and then you're not coming inside the hashes. Run another 9. Okay, now run like a post corner, still staying outside the hashes. That was basically all that they were having him do in all these games, which is why he had such a low target to catch ratio, which is why he had either a boom or bust outlook for him. Now with Zay Jones back the last 2 games, much different route tree for Calvin Ridley. That's how we want to see him utilized. If he is going to be your captain in your lineup, because you are projecting him to be the optimal captain, you have to build your showdown lineups as though you're right. Right? We're not looking for trust. We're not looking for safety. You're trying to win a tournament. And if you're going to try and win a tournament, you have to build it as though you're right. And if you're right that Calvin Ridley is going to have like 30 to 35 DraftKings points and then multiplied by the captain multiplier, you know that Trevor Lawrence is also having a very, very, very solid day too. So you're going to tie him to him as well. Christian Kirk, still more than enough targets. And kind of the thing that we want to focus on is when everybody else is chasing the new shiny toy, or like chasing the ball around the roulette wheel is kind of what I like to say. Well, Ridley's the guy now, so clearly it's got to be Ridley. Guys like Christian Kirk get overlooked, and he can get there on volume plus touchdowns. He slides more into the slot when they are at full strength and plays less on the outside when they are at full strength. Same rules apply. The last guy, I think, so when I say last guy, no, I don't think that I want to have Joe Mixon at captain this week. No, I typically will not have defenses at captain. No, I really don't want to have this fringy guy that nobody's thought of at captain. But if you want to play the narrative, the Monday Night Magic, that Evan Ingram is suddenly going to get off the schneid. Like, there's a lot of correlation between tight end receiving yards, tight end receptions, and touchdowns. And like, he should have like 4.5 touchdowns this year based on his yards gained. Now, based on OTD, Mike Clay's stats, like, you know, it more dependent on end zone targets, red zone looks. You could see clearly from a narrative point of view if you wanted to, because if you're playing Evan Ingram and captain, you're clearly playing for the narrative in this spot. They were very much trying to get him that touchdown last week against Houston. It's just that Trevor Lawrence threw the ball about 14 feet high, and Evan Ingram could not have caught that if he was Victor Wembanyama. So when they get close, I think that there might be a couple of extra Evan Ingram end zone targets that are going to get dialed up to force a touchdown to him if and when they can, as well as his ability to get over the top. And again, not to harp on it, but the big plays that Cincinnati has given up feeds right into Evan Ingram's skill set. Let's head over to Underdog Fantasy. And if you do not have an account over to Underdog, what are you doing? There's a free $100 sitting on the ground. All you got to do is use promo code ALSMIZZLE. That's ALSMIZZLE. And you get up to a $100 deposit bonus on your first deposit to the site. Just for like, hey, here, welcome to the site. Here's $100. You deposited $100? Here's another $100 for you. You can use it on their pick'ems. I've run hot on these, so expect this to lose. I bet the hires because I'm a donkey. Lowers are much sharper for a lot of different reasons. I've got Jamar Chase over 5.5 catches, T. Higgins over 3.5 catches, Jake Browning over 217. I need 218 passing yards. And let's go Zay Jones for a touchdown, for a little spiciness to spice this up. 100 to win 2,000. We're going to click that. Hopefully we can get there. Oh, they couldn't detect I'm going to have to put this in later after I refresh. But trust me, I'm where I am, Underdog. Believe me, I'm here. Let's take a look at a couple of guys that I think are going to be underplayed, underowned for a couple of different reasons. Whether it's because of their salary or whether it's because the way that roster construction goes, they're just in a weird spot. The first one is the guy that I used on an Underdog card. Zay Jones. 5,200. This is the range that always gets sketchy. You're praying for a touchdown in this spot, but if there has ever been a player that Trevor Lawrence looks to when they get near the goal line, it's Zay Jones. And all the other guys are going to collect a lot more ownership. We're looking at somebody that's under 25%. In fact, last year around this time, I believe it was week 15, he had a 3-touchdown game from Trevor Lawrence. He looks to him when they get close. He gets a lot of high value, high leverage targets in the red zone, specifically in the end zone, where all he has to do is come down with a catch and all of a sudden he's got a touchdown. This $5,200 price range, $4,500 to $6,000 for players, typically lends itself to players that are sub 20%, and that's kind of what we want to attack. He would be the first one on my list. The other two are both tight ends and both from Cincinnati. Drew Sample, again, this is a low price play where we're looking for 1 touchdown catch. Every point matters in Showdown. If he was to walk away with 8.1 points in a game against Jacksonville, you would certainly take it. The other one is Irv Smith Jr. Only 2 targets. We're not having much of a ceiling here, but he's $1,000 in salary. And he opens up more than enough room for you to afford all the other players that are higher. If you wanted to go with a kicker, it's going to cost you a couple K more for lower upside than a tight end that can get you 1 or 2 touchdowns on 1 or 2 catches. So those are the 3 guys that I'm highlighting for the low dollar plays. Let's head over to Fantasy Labs. And if you do not have an account over at Fantasy Labs, go to smizzle.tv/labs with an uppercase L. I'm going to put that link right down below in the pinned comment. So go check, drop a like on the pinned comment just so I know that you see it. Would be greatly appreciated. Here's where I start every single showdown. I build a bunch of different correlations and player groups and rules and things to try and go where I think the ownership needs me to go to try and guide my way to the top of a tournament. But this is where we start. Captain quarterback with at least 2 of their wide receiver, tight end, and kicker. Captain quarterback with a skill position player from the other side. If you're using a pass catcher, tie their quarterback to him, and at most 1 defense or kicker from the same game. And if you want to make it 2, or you want to make it 4, you can do whatever you want. This is personally where I start, and then I build in a rule where it forces a running back or wide receiver where their projected ownership is less than 25% to make sure that I'm getting different. Then I click generate and realize that you've got to work on your correlations, your combinations, and your allocations. You can't just click generate and print money. The best value for a new sub over at Fantasy Labs is the 6-month package where you get NFL, basketball, baseball when it comes back around, golf, PGA is every single weekend, NHL is in full swing. You get their projections and optimize it for every one of those sports for one price for 6 whole months to give you the best chance to try and express your edge over a large period of time. So I wish you guys the best of luck. Look out for the recap video on Monday afternoon, and good luck on Monday night. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.